I want to begin with this. Let's review. You previously disabused me of the idea that they are some ragtag band of miscreants united by their poor lot in life. Instead, you say they are united by their literalist interpretation. Is that fair?
Yeah, well, they are a ragtag bunch of creeps and miscreants in a way. They're also true believers, and they do, as you say, have some purchase on the Islamic tradition. That is, they tap into one part of that Islamic tradition. Of course, being a ragtag group of hairy creeps in the desert does not keep them from actually creating a state, which is what they did, and it's very important that we've deprived them of that. So it actually is a very good thing that they no longer have major cities in Iraq and Syria.
And I have learned as well from you, they want to get it on. They want confrontation with the West.
Yeah, and they got it, and it didn't work out for them the way they thought it was going to. You know, they thought that the United States would show up, Turkey would show up, and what they would get was an Armageddon war, a big religious war that would usher in the end of times. So a lot of them were disappointed in that. But I think we should remember that there are a lot of them. There's 40,000 people who traveled to fight for them. And of those, there might be a third of them, or maybe even half of them, who are dead. But that still leaves 20,000 people who, in the very recent past, believed that this was the way to be a Muslim, was to fight. And many of those are not just returning home sheepishly, that they've got some ideas about how they can continue even after ISIS has lost the territory.
We're a year into the Trump administration. The president, the White House are taking credit for having turned a corner against ISIS. Do they deserve that credit?
Well, they were really continuing the Obama policy. Now, it doesn't take a genius or a stable genius, I guess, to know that the U.S. military was going to destroy ISIS on the battlefield. That was the easy part, and the Obama administration knew it. The Trump administration kind of accelerated that, and like I say, it's good that they took back those cities. What I think that the Trump administration hasn't made really much progress in, though, is handling the diaspora of fighters from the ISIS project after the territory was lost. They also haven't made any progress in making sure that that territory, once it's retaken from ISIS, becomes stable and doesn't again become a breeding ground for some kind of ISIS 3.0. That still could be in the offing.
I also remember from the piece that you wrote for The Atlantic that sort of built into the ISIS argument is this notion that they're going to take their lumps, right? In other words, they've drilled their followers to expect setbacks because that's all a part of the way this ends, oddly enough, with Jesus coming to their rescue.
Yeah, there were some of them, I think, who expected an easy victory quickly. But the ones who were really looking at the ISIS propaganda, the ISIS supporters who were, reading chapter and verse, they were saying that ISIS is going to be successful at first, and then it was going to lose territory and be down to the last 5,000 fighters, and then Jesus would come to their aid. So when ISIS talks about what's happening now, they will often say, yeah, we predicted from the beginning that there would be good times and there would be bad times, and the bad times would be pretty bad, and that's what we're in right now. We're seeing, says ISIS, the time when the true believers are really tested. I wouldn't hold out too much optimism if I were them, but that's how they're selling it to their true believers.
Okay, final thought. It sounds to me like Graham Wood most worries about where they're all headed next.
Yeah, I said 40,000 people had traveled. Now, remember, Al-Qaeda on September 11, 2001 had somewhere between 200 and 1,000 fighters. ISIS had 40,000, and most of those people, we don't know where they are. They might be dead in the desert. That would be great. But some of them are still out there, and it doesn't take very many for them to perpetrate something that's truly horrific, it grabs headlines, and really disfigures world politics. So I'm worried about what happens next, both in Syria, with the keeping of that territory and making it a safe and durable peace, and also what happens in the West. If any of those foreign fighters who are over there make it back, they are battle-hardened, they are committed to fighting, and they're committed to drawing blood. It could be very, very bad if even a few of them make